Hello, welcome to another Looney Tunes review video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to follow my journey to review all 1000 classic Looney Tunes shorts and give this video a like as well. So this is a review for The Fighting 69½, released in 1941. It's the 314th in the series and it's directed by Friz Freleng. You can find an unrestored version of this short on the Looney Tunes Golden Collection Volume 6 DVD set. I have a link below to that set, and hopefully one day this will get a proper restoration, as this is one of those wonderful hidden gems that I think is a truly magnificent short. Is actually one of the best of the 1940s. And if you don't believe me, I will state my case as we go throughout the review. But in case you haven't seen this one, there's no major story to speak of. You just have a picnic. The people who are having the picnic are clearly away. One group of ants notices the food, they try to take it, but another group of ants has the same idea, and all throughout the short, the two groups of ants just fight over the food. And we get a wonderful ending to conclude it all. And this whole short is more or less a commentary on humanity, really, if you really think about it. You know, it's that good. In terms of trivia, I'll go through most of it as we go through the short from start to finish, but the title itself is a parody on the James Cagney movie called The Fighting 69th, and that came out in 1940. So given how close it was from that movie to come out and this short to actually come out in the beginning of 1941, it wouldn't surprise me if this short was known under a different name at one point, then they just chose to add the title. The only thing relating to the two is the fact that each have a war theme, but other than that, neither the movie nor the short have anything to do with one another. Now, as I said before, I make the case here that this one is a true gem, one that needs to be rediscovered, and hopefully if it gets a brand new restoration at some point, because at the time of this recording it hasn't happened yet, I hope more people can appreciate this one. So let's go through the short from start to finish, and again, I'll go through some of the references within. One thing you'll note about the short is Friz's timing, not just in the obvious ways. He has these ants doing timing to the music as he normally does, you know, timing to the beat. It's also well timed when it comes to him holding certain shots. The very beginning of the short is nice and slow paced, and it builds up to what the actual story will be. So we're clearly in a park, we're getting shown all this beautiful food and the picnic, and the initial shot of the red ants is just their normal ants. So if you hadn't seen this short before, you might think that this is just for the atmosphere, but nope. Next shot, we've gone from a realistic ant to one that's more on the cartoony side, although the ants still act like ants. So the red ant sees all the goodies there, which I can't blame him. That food looked really good. And over on the other side, the black ant has the same idea. And we got a beautiful piece of timing here of the two ants running towards the middle and fighting over an olive. So already we've got some wonderful commentary there when it comes to human nature, right? They got all that food they could share. Nope, they're just going to fight over that one olive. Now, all the voices you hear in this one, and there's really not much in terms of dialogue, it's all done by Mel Blanc, all completely sped up, and he does one unfortunate voice, which I'll point out later on as well. So we've got some wonderful fighting animation over this single olive, complete with the usual, oh no you don't, oh no you don't, and so on. But the red ant just throws the whole olive onto the black ant, who then says,
"Of course you know this means war."
And that's a reference to Groucho Marx. That was one of his trademark sayings, and that would end up also becoming a trademark saying for Bugs Bunny. And I like the added touch, and Friz didn't have to do this, but when the black ant walks off after declaring war, he ends up slipping over at first, and then tries to save face by just making it like it's not a big deal, and then he puts his chin up and walks away. So we got the beautiful setup, and then the mood completely changes and becomes an army training film. And just to put this in perspective as well, while this was during World War II, America were not in the war yet, but there were definitely a lot of army-themed shorts, and in real life, the US were shoring up their defenses, so this would have been very topical despite not being in the war yet. So you got a wonderful montage of the training, complete with the red ant playing the bugle, the ants marching, which I would say to save on cost, they would have just repeated certain animation, just cycled it over and over, but it does the job, and that's the main thing. Now, I wasn't sure on the reference on the 4th Alabama, Ants in Your Pants Division, ha, gotta love that, but I believe it's a reference to the 167th Infantry Regiment. I was looking it up, and they indeed had a 4th Alabama Regiment, so I believe that's what it's referring to. So if I'm incorrect there, definitely let me know, but that was the only thing I could find about it. But we continue on where we've got all these rather determined looking slugs or caterpillars. I'm not sure what they are, maybe caterpillars. Anyway, they're having the insect powder, you've got those makeshift cars of absorbent cotton, and yes, the royal flying ants. Ha. And yes, certain ants do fly. Some species of ant have male ants that fly. I'm not going to go into the whole ant species thing here. But the next shot just shows how much care was put into this short. I'm not saying Friz Freleng never puts care in his work or anything. I'm not trying to imply that at all. But this part's just done so well, where all we hear is some moody music by Carl Starling. And by the way, there's only 2 musical cues. This is actually mostly Carl Starling originals, and it sounds fantastic. But we got this eerie calm. So we got the 2 trenches. We got the black ants trench. We pan over, we see the red ant trench. So you hear the moody music. But then as we pull back on that shot with the picnic blanket, the music just stops. And you wonder, okay, who's going to break the tension here? Well, we can't really see who's shot first. They all seem to have shot at the same time. So that is just a wonderful piece of filmmaking, period, and sets everything up nicely. Now we're in the red ant trenches, where we see one of the higher ranking soldiers. I wouldn't know exactly what rank this soldier would have. So if you're more familiar with what rank he would likely be, definitely let me know in the comments. But in this gag, we're all about getting the hot dog. And I like the fact we can see these other soldiers are just drenched in sweat, all worried about what's going on.
All right, men. Our objective will be the hot dog. Lieutenant Flint will lead a detail of 5 men. You will approach from the rear of the potato chips, and from this point, you'll be on your own. Capture the hot dog and return to your base. You know your orders? Let's go.
So the whole thing is just ridiculous. It's just a bunch of ants fighting each other, and yet it's shot in a way like it's quite serious, and that's why this short works so well. The humor is in the fact that it's all played straight. There are stakes at hand here, that maybe literally 2, because there might be a stake there for all we know at that picnic basket, but no, there are actual stakes at play here. Each side is determined to win this picnic, and because it's all played straight, that's why this works so well. So our ranking soldier go through the actual plan where the whole strategy has been mapped out. So you see the enemy trench, you even see a hot dog and everything. I do wonder who would have done this actual map. Maybe one of the flying ants, I don't know. But anyway, he blows the whistle and the soldiers now enter. And we get a beautifully timed moment again. This is Friz Freleng timing the movements to the music. In fact, this kind of reminds me of Disney's The Skeleton Dance, believe it or not, because there is a similar piece of music there when the actual skeletons are creeping around, and he does the same thing here, but with ants in the war zone. So they hear a noise, they duck down, so they're acting like soldiers. Again, this whole thing is played straight, despite how ridiculous it all is. So the ants hear some noise, they hide inside the cheese, but we get a repeated gag where, yeah, the next bit of cheese is the good old-fashioned Limburger, because we've never seen that gag before nor since, but it works fine here. So the red ants see their prize, which is the hot dog, and try and bring it back to the trench. But no, we get a beautifully timed moment where we have the black ants already in there, lifting up the helmets of the red ants and knocking them out. Again, beautifully timed moment by Friz Freleng there, and perhaps better planned. I guess the black ant side came up with a better strategy this time because they even have the fifth ant just holding up the bun like that, so well done to them. So the black ants bring it to the trench, and we get the unfortunate bit there with the only major negative having this short is this ant with the stereotypical Rochester voice and the massive lips.
Forgot the mustard.
It is what it is, not much we can do. But that is a play on Eddie Rochester, and if you hear a lot of that kind of voice in a lot of the Looney Tunes around this time, it's a play on Eddie Rochester, who was on the Jack Benny Show. And yes, this was definitely cut for TV, so you get a joke, okay, you forgot the mustard, sure. But we see that the war's still going on, so one of the red ants, who's a very good shot actually, he manages to string a whole bunch of peas. So there's not really much to the gag, but it definitely builds to it, so things will get faster and faster for the moment, and we see gags that don't last very long, like the Limburger cheese, which, okay, it's kind of reused. It would have been better if they did something else, maybe, just to change things up a little bit, but that's okay. So we have the black ant, throws it over, and the red ants dutifully bury the Limburger cheese, and they put a keep in a cool, dry place, which is what you would typically do with Limburger cheese. And in a wonderful animated moment, again, beautifully timed, the ants see a cake, they divide it up, and one ant has to come back and get the cherry. So a lot of these split-second gags aren't ha-ha funny, but just shows what each side are doing in order to get their prize. So the black ants now enter, we see what they get, so the bigger ants get all small things, and the small ant decides to get a massive watermelon. Very cheeky there, and I'll say no more. But it's not a Friz Freleng short without a reference to onions, right? So again, nice, beautifully timed moment where the ants make a sandwich, which again looks very delicious. I'm actually recording this track before I'm eating dinner myself, so I probably picked the wrong short to do it. But they build up this beautiful sandwich, they bring the onions, nope, the higher-ups in the trench put up a sign, hold the onions. So they complete the sandwich and bring it down, so the red side now have a win as well. And I like the fact up until now, it shows that both sides are just about even. There's no lopsidedness here. You got the impression that each side are not really winning per se. But something's got to give here, and we see a shadow appear, which happens to be the person who had the picnic. I mean, you do have to wonder where this person was beforehand, why wasn't the food put away, but we don't need to worry about that. I do wonder if this woman was rotoscoped, because it looks like very clean animation here, so I'd be willing to guess that it was, but regardless, we're left with one cake with a cherry on top. And again, the two sides continue fighting over the last bit here. Again, human nature, right? And very topical today, which is quite sad to say. But the two generals, they do come to the realization that, hey, they're getting nowhere, they need to stop this. Which some certain people in the world today would come to this realization, but the two sides decide that they're going to work out an agreement.
Now, wait a minute. We're not getting anywhere this way. I think we can settle this in a more peaceful manner. We lost everything else by fighting. What say to a conference? Splendid. We'll hold a peace conference.
I like the added touch in the foreground. You can see that the black ants and red ants have their arms on the other side's shoulder. So again, it's the little things like that. So it's agreed that the cake is going to be divided evenly. And we even see a brief shot of two very old-looking ants there. One has the Confederacy uniform and one has the Yankee uniform. Remember, this came out in 1941, and the last people to have been alive to see the Civil War actually passed away in the 1950s. So you still had a few people with the living memory of the war at the time. So that's what that's referencing. But we get a beautiful ending here about how to divide this cake in two. It's that pesky cherry, right? One side divides it up to have the cherry. The other side doesn't want that. They want the cherry. And, well, They may be ants, but they're pretty much humans, especially in nature. So, yep, we start the fighting again, and well, and so it goes, right? So this is one of those early masterpieces, I have to say. Despite that one unfortunate Rochester gag, this is a near-perfect cartoon. It really is. It is one that I really hope gets remastered, and maybe when this review comes out, they might make an announcement. In any case, this one, 9.5 out of 10. The only reason the 0.5 is because of the Rochester gag, and yeah, that's pretty much it. But this is certainly a wonderful one to watch, and out of all the ant ones that Friz Freleng made, like he made the gay antis, he made one with Elmer Fudd fighting some ants, so he did a lot of ant-related gags for some weird reason, but honestly, this is probably my favorite out of all of them. It's just done so well. So let me know if you agree with that in the comments below, but that'll do it for this one. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and until next time, take care.
To differ, it will be this way, huh?